Hi guys, welcome to another video of MaxiAspie, and today I'll be talking about autism and reading. So when I was younger, especially at primary school, I found it very difficult to read. It was one of the toughest things that I came across in my school. It was the biggest barriers of me to actually learn. Now, some autistic people are brilliant at reading, however some autistic people may find reading hard, digesting that information, absorbing that information and interpreting that information, and also understanding the different spellings, the different meanings and the different representation of what a word may mean. So for instance, growing up I always found the word live and live really hard, or Polish and polish, or reading and reading. I would always find these words very confusing and didn't really understand it, because to me they are spelled exactly the same, but they are two different things. And I think for an autistic person that can be quite hard to understand, at least it was for me. Also for me, what was hard was just seeing a word, and I would often sound a word according of how it looked. So the word xylophone would mean nothing to me, because if I was to ever see that word, I would try and say the word how it looks rather than actually how it is meant to sound. The best, simplest example I can give to that is like knife. You know, I would look at knife and try and say knife or anything like that, because the way it looks, I would try and put that to the sound of how the word should be. So today I'm going to give 5 top tips that I would give to somebody who is struggling to read, an autistic person that's struggling to read, or a teacher that's trying to explore new ways of trying to teach an autistic person to read. So number 1, I would use definitely visual cards, you know, that they can align with that object, with the word. All the time I would try and do that. And also when it comes to words that sound or are spelt the same but sound differently, I would also address that very firstly from the get point and put the two objects next to them. My tip number 2 would be, if an autistic person is struggling to read, I wouldn't try and encourage them straight away to read in front of the class. So one of the issues I had when I was growing up in primary school was I couldn't talk till I was 6, and then I had to try and learn how to read, and then I had to try and read in front of a whole class full of people that were very advanced than me at that stage, and I had issues even trying to speak, let alone trying to understand different spellings and different meanings of words. So I would always suggest, even though people don't think it's the best inclusive way of taking someone out of the classroom and getting them to learn on their own and then slowly putting them back into the classroom, I'd actually suggest that for things like reading, because the worst and the most damaging thing for me was to sit in the classroom, then have to read a book and see these words that I just couldn't say nor understand. Number 3, I'd get them to read something that is interesting to them. So for me it was like fairy tales with a twist, and how Cinderella wanted to go to the ball, but in my case it was how Cinder Boy wanted to go to the football match. I think if you get people in general to read something that they enjoy, people are more wanting to learn that and want to know what happens at the end of their story. And that's what done it for me, was I wanted to find out what had happened at the end of that story and what twist there was going to be that made the story a bit differently. If you're having fun, I feel like you're going to learn, and autistic people like myself, I always found, wanted to have a bit of fun while I was reading. I wanted there to be a purpose of why I was doing something. Number 4, turn reading into a game. So for instance, when I was learning my number bonds to 10, again very late in school, probably year 6 I'm talking about, which I was very behind in terms of mathematics as well, but my teacher, my TA, turned it into a game. So it was like a snap game where if I saw a 5 and I saw a 5 and one had a house on it and one had a car on it, they would match. If it was a house and a house, it wouldn't. And it was just all to do with visual cues and seeing these cards that made me learn a bit better and quicker and faster. And I really enjoyed it, because again it was a game and I was enjoying it. So that's another thing, is making a game out of words, and could even do a mix match with reading, you know, like a snap game of reading, you know. So if you had reading and reading, you could match it and you'd say, okay, they're the same spelling, but they're two different words. This means that, this means this, and that's a fun way and engaging way for people to learn. And number 5, I would say make use of software that's out there. So obviously I work in IT and I do come across some of these softwares, things like ClipperDocs and things like Dragon software as well. It's very popular for people with dyslexia as well. You know, it really can help you say the words that you are trying to get across and can't write down, and that will put it onto that bit of software, and then you can eventually get to where you need to. And with games like ClipperDocs as well, you almost have to type the word to sort of get it to match on the system. And again, it's more fun and more engaging and all these things. And those would be my tips. But with autism and reading, you've got to remember it can be hard because it's all to do with, again, digesting, absorbing and processing that information. And if we're told one thing from somebody else and one thing from somebody else, you know, it can become very confusing for us. And the English language is confusing anyway, let alone adding autism, which is a completely different language in itself. And I just think it's important to be patient and be considerate and just have that empathy and that understanding when teaching somebody with autism that they want to learn, but they just might not be able to understand or process the information that's in front of them. And if we acknowledge that and we understand it, we can put things in place that will make that better for them and give them that overall learning experience that they need. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching as always. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and give it a like down below. Share the video to all your teachers, all your friends, all your autistic friends, all your autistic people. Get the video out there, it means a lot to me, and just spreading that information and that awareness is really key. So guys, thank you for watching, take care, and goodbye for now.